before I go over rounding numbers, I quickly want to go over place values. So when we have a number, let's pretend we're looking at this number, we always want to identify the ones place. The ones place is always going to be to the left of the decimal, directly to the left of the decimal. That means in this case, this 4 is going to be in my ones place. So the 4 is in my ones place, and if I just identify the place values over here to the left of this number, after the ones place, we have the tens place, then we have the hundreds place, and after the hundreds place, we have the thousands place. This pattern repeats itself to the right of the decimal. So there's only going to be one ones place. The 4 is the only thing that's going to be in the ones place. But as we go to the right of the decimal, we're going to repeat this pattern of tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on. So after the 4, we have this 5 to the right of the decimal, and that's going to be our tenths with the th. It's going to be our tenths place. After the tenths place, we're going to have the hundreds. And again, we're going to put a th at the end. After the hundreds place, we're going to have the thousands with the th. And after the thousands place, we have the 10,000s place. So I couldn't fit that there, but that would be 10,000. Okay, so if we understand how these place values work, then rounding shouldn't be a huge issue. But again, there's only one ones place, and it's always directly to the left of the decimal. So if we jump into the problems, this first problem wants us to round 7,695 to the nearest hundreds place. So let me just briefly copy down the number. So we have 7,695, and I'm going to underline whatever place value they mention. So in this case, they mentioned the hundreds place. So the hundreds place would be the 6. So I underline the 6, and I'm going to circle the number to the right of this, which ends up being the tens place, but that doesn't matter. I'm just going to circle the number directly to the right of the hundreds place. This number in the circle, if it's a 5 or a number higher than 5, then what it'll do is it'll change this 6. It'll move this 6 up to a 7. If it's less than 5, if it's a 4 or any number less than that, then the 6 will stay the same when we're rounding. Because the 9 is greater than 5, we're going to take this 6 and we're going to bring it up to a 7. This number on the left, that's going to stay the same. So that 7 stays the same. The 6 goes up because of 9 was greater than 5. And everything else, these two numbers right here, are going to become zeros. So my final answer ends up being 7,700. That would be the rounded version of this number when it's rounded to the nearest hundred. This problem wants us to round to the nearest thousand. So again, I'm going to copy down my number. Then I'm going to identify the thousands place, and I'm going to underline it. So the thousands place is the 8, and I'm going to circle the number right after it. That number in the circle will tell me whether the 8 is going to go up or whether the 8 is going to stay the same. The 7 is greater than 5, so our number is going to go up. This 8 value is going to go up to a 9. And everything else, including this 7, is going to become a 0 because we're rounding. This problem wants us to round to the nearest 10. So I'm going to copy it down, and I'm going to circle that 10 place value, which in this case would be the 3. So I underline the 3, and I circle the 7. That circle will tell me whether the 3 is going to go up or whether the 3 is going to stay the same. Because the 7 is greater than 5, this 3 is going to change into a 4. And that 7 is going to become a 0. But we bring down the values to the left of this value, and we end up with 840 as my rounded number. This is a decimal problem, and it wants us to round to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to copy down my number, 0.432. And the first thing I'm going to do, because we have a decimal, is I'm going to identify the ones place. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the ones place is always to the left of the decimal. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put ones place right there. Now after the ones place, we're going to have 10, 100, and 1,000. But because we're moving to the right, it's going to be tenths with a TH, hundredths with a TH, and thousandths with a TH. So they want us to round to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to underline the hundredths place, which is a 3. And I'm going to circle the number to the right of it, which is a 2. Now in this case, that number in the circle is less than 5, which means we're rounding down. That doesn't mean the 3 moves down to become a 2. It just means the 3 stays the same. So hopefully that's not too confusing. But basically the 2 is less than 5, so we're not moving up. We're going to keep that 3 alone. And that 2 is going to become a 0. Everything to the left of this is going to stay the same, so we're still going to have 0.4. But now we're going to have a 430 to the right of the decimal. And this will be the rounded version of the original number. So this problem wants us to round to the nearest tenth. So again, I'm going to write my number down. And I'm going to identify the ones place. The ones place is always to the left of the decimal, so it's going to be this 2. Then I'm going to repeat that pattern that I mentioned earlier. After ones, you're going to have tens, hundreds, thousands. To the left would be tens, just the normal tens, but to the right would be a tenth with a TH and hundredths with a TH. So the problem wants me to focus on tenth, and make sure you read that correctly. This one has a TH, so we're going to underline the 1 and circle the number after it. The number in the circle will tell us whether the 1 goes up or whether the 1 stays the same. The 2 is less than 5, so it's going to stay the same. It's going to stay as a 1, and that 2 is going to become a 0. All the other numbers to the left of this 1 are going to stay the same. So we're going to have 52 or 52.10, and this will be the answer to the problem.